So as you know, AI can write essays, it can generate art, and it even has some pretty advanced reasoning capabilities as well. It allows it to do tasks such as complex coding, and it can even pass the bar exam. But despite all of this, only 1% of companies say that they're obtaining substantial value through AI. And so we'll be breaking down this problem by looking at reports from McKinsey and BCG published earlier this year, and I'll also be leveraging my own personal experience as I've been leading generative AI projects from idea all the way to production in multiple Fortune 500 companies. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. And so in the report, they say that 39% say that they're stuck in the emerging stage, so they're testing things out. 31% are developing, which means that they're starting to improve specific workflows. And 22% are expanding, where AI is touching more parts of the business, but it still isn't fully transformative. So I want to point out here that a lot of the companies started their Gen AI journey about a year and a half ago. So it's not really like they didn't have time to actually, implement generative AI at this stage. And as you can see here, and according to the graph, a lot of the issue really comes down to scalability. See, only 8% of the companies are doing absolutely nothing with Gen AI. So most people, at least at this stage, have already started things, test things out, maybe tried POCs and pilots, and now they're in the process of either removing ones, identifying ones, and then actually going forward with the scalability. And so just like with a lot of digital transformation efforts, scalability actually is a very large problem. And especially on the ground of working with a lot of these Gen AI solutions, you might have a great initial POC or initial pilot, but then the adoption or some other piece sort of stuff gets in the way for the scalability, and then you don't really get a lot of ROI. This is something that I've seen personally, but I'd like to go more in the weeds, as this actually varies a lot industry to industry. So if you take a look at this graph here, technologies, healthcare, and media is going to be leading the charge. Now, others like consumer goods, energy, and logistics, they're going to be lagging behind, even despite the huge potential for AI gains. So in industries like these, AI adoption could be lagging mainly for practical concerns with the actual implementation itself. So for instance, anything that's more of a mass market and they have low margins, they would need to have very high confidence that the implementation that they're doing will actually provide value, right? An actual ROI to that. But it's also not just budget. See, in a lot of sectors, employees themselves are actually very cautious as well. So McKinsey found that in industries like public sector, aerospace, and defense, only 1 out of 5 employees believe that AI will actually significantly affect their workflow. So I've actually worked some Gen AI projects in the public sector and also in legal contexts as well. A lot of these industries tend to have a lot of oversight, a lot of approvals, and a lot of regulatory compliance that they need to go through. And so these industries just move a little bit slower by design. And honestly, I personally believe that that is actually okay, especially considering that these systems can carry a lot of responsibility, so it needs to be more thought out and more detailed. But I also want to note here that this is just beyond AI in general. This is just technology within some of these corporations. So what if you're an industry that isn't facing these sorts of challenges? What is it looking like for you if you're not in the public sector, for instance? Well, the short answer is the challenges that you will be facing is actually more related to organizational transformation. It's not really actually a tech problem at this point. So the first thing I would bring up is no strategy, no results. And so the biggest thing here is 70% of digital transformation efforts do actually fail, right? Just historically, that's how it is, outside of AI in general. And so what I really urge you to do is really have a full kind of picture in mind. How will the AI bring value? What is the work it'll actually be changing? How will it actually be implementing it? Because at that point, you're just going to have a lot of disjointed projects that don't really work well together, or it may not even be adding value in the long run for you guys. And see, McKinsey found that leadership alignment is one of the most critical and most overlooked factors. And so without it, you really get a lot of friction, confusion, and ultimately limited adoption, which would bring down your ROI. So next thing I want to bring up is cost uncertainty slows commitment. And the biggest thing here I want to bring up is it's a lot easier to just fund a bunch of proof of concepts, but it gets really difficult to say, all right, we're going to go and fully commit to this, fully invest to it, especially when the cost is actually pretty unclear. And so at least from the technical side, do you want to buy off the shelf tools? Do you want to go fully custom, right? What is the model deployment going to look like? Even after you deploy all of it, what is the maintenance going to look like afterwards? All of these things make it very, very difficult to actually say that this is what it's going to cost. Next is talent gaps and workforce uncertainty. So McKinsey studied that 46% of executives say that there is actually a skill gap when they're looking to implement this. And a lot of it really comes down to trying to understand what roles that they need, how to attract and also retain talent, and then lastly, how do they actually upskill their existing teams to make sure they can actually implement a lot of this AI effectively. And the last one I want to bring up, obviously there are a bunch more, and you can go look at the report. It's in the link in the description below. But compliance, trust, and also safety is a big part as well. And so this is really important, especially when you think of adoption, as if people don't exactly know how the model is doing or what it's doing or why it's doing the thing that it's doing, it's really difficult to trust it. So as you can see so far, a lot of the issues that I'm raising here actually have nothing to do with technology, right? Or very, very minimal pieces to do with technology. And it really has a lot to do with people and processes. And I'm just going to quickly cross-reference this with the BCG report you can see on the screen here. Difficulty establishing ROI, poor prioritization, weak leadership communication, low AI literacy, resistance due to job loss fear as well. So again, AI is powerful, but a lot of it does come down to the organization and not being able to leverage it and use it effectively. So how does this all play out in the numbers? Well, unfortunately, it's just not looking good yet on an ROI perspective. See, according to McKinsey, only 19% of execs say that AI has increased revenue by more than 5%, and only 23% report a meaningful cost reduction. And then for some, unfortunately, their costs actually went up. So yes, AI has a lot of momentum, but as of right now, a lot of companies haven't really seen a large tangible ROI as of yet. So while some companies and the majority of companies are still stuck in the pilot mode and the scale out mode, some industries are actually getting substantial value, and this is sort of how it's being broken down today. So here's some sectors like software, media, fintech. They're seeing the majority of their value actually coming from core business functions. So this means embedding AI products into sales, operations, which is the heart of the business. Now, other industries such as utilities, chemicals, things of that nature, they're seeing value in more of support functions. So this includes procurement, IT, and customer service. And so while the split varies, right, across the board, 62% of Gen AI value is coming from core business function. Now, enterprise AI is hard, and clearly a lot of the companies are not there yet. They've been trying, and it hasn't been working. However, the upside potential is extremely enormous. I've seen it firsthand. Some of this is like absolutely game-changing. You can actually really redo, completely rethink how a business functions today with generative AI, with traditional machine learning as well, to really streamline these workflows in the core business function or in support functions as well.